Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, meine Damen und meine Herren, Panie i Panowie, przed Państwem znamienici gości. I want to introduce you the special expert that we have right now here on our booth, the highest level of expert in heat pumps. So please welcome Josephine van Betzelere. She is the Policy Director of European Heat Pump Association. Please take a seat. Yeah, you'll be here. Please welcome Thomas Nowak. He is Vice President of Government Relations and Public Affairs in Qvantum International. He is also a board member of European Heat Pump Association and the board member of Institute for European Environmental Policy. And the last but not least, Marek Miara. Marek Miara is also a PhD, and he has a position of business developer in heat pumps in the more scientist and research Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, and also author of the blog of heat pumps in existing houses. So please welcome. And my first question is about the market, because all we are very interested, how is the market, heat pump market in Europe right now? So what can you say about the heat pump market at the moment from your point of view? Josephine, you as a policy director in European Heat Pump Association, what is your opinion about heat pump market? How you perceive the heat pump market at this moment? I know that there was some decrease in heat pump market last year. It was minus 23%, as I remember correctly. And many countries has decrease in heat pump and only few increase in heat pump that we already know. What is your view on the market and how it will develop in the near future?
Thank you, Gosia. First of all, thanks a lot for the invitation, and for me it's really an honor to be speaking alongside these two experts and also inspirations. I have to say, Marek, people call him the heat pump pope, and Thomas, Mr. Heat Pump, so I don't know what I am, but this is really an honor, thanks a lot. So indeed, on the heat pump market, yeah, we have seen 10 years of growth, and since the last 2 years we see a sales decline. We have already, so at EHPA, at the European Heat Pump Association, we gather heat pump sales data for 21 countries, which include 18 member states and 3 other countries, Switzerland, Norway, and the UK, and this represents around 90% of the market. So we see these sales year by year, and after 10 years of growth, we saw in the last 2 years, 2 years of sales decline, and as Gosia already said, for last year, we have already the data for 14 countries, so now we are getting to data for all the countries, but for those 14, we can already see the difference with last year, and we see a sales decline of around 23% indeed. So yeah, this has mainly to do with policy changes, with subsidy changes in quite some national markets, but also the general economic situations and political insecurity and instability. A clear example for that is Germany, but I will not talk too much about Germany, especially not next to Marek and Thomas. But yeah, I think, of course, this is now a sales decline, but if we look at the broader picture, if we zoom out and we look at the long-term perspective, I think it's very clear that by 2050, the end target is there. We all know that, the market is set to grow, the share of heat pumps will grow year by year compared to gas boilers. So we can look at this and zoom in on this and look at the current situation at years and months, but if we really zoom out and look at the long term and at 2050, we have to decarbonize, we have to move away from fossil fuels. So I think we all know that that's a perspective. It's more a question of how steep this growth will go and whether there will be more hiccups and how big or how small they will be. But it's more a question of zooming out or in, but the general picture is very clear. That's what I would say.
Thank you. And Marek, you in Germany, You are so-called heat pump pope in Germany, as I remember correctly. And what is your the view on the market? How it is in Germany? Is it true that it starts working properly and the sales increasing right now in heat pumps? Because I heard that it is right now.
Thank you, Gosia, and also from my side, welcome everybody and thank you for the invitation. You cannot say that it's working properly because it's everything but not stable. So if you see the numbers from the last year and the sales numbers from December was like more than the half year before, it's just showing that it's not stable at all. And it's also connected to the political development and also unsure situation for the end users. So it's not stable at all. So far, I was asking some heat pump manufacturers today to be better prepared for the question, and they see some positive signals for the first 3 months of the year. But
that's good to hear.
If this is stable, I cannot tell you.
Okay, and do you find also that the third factor has also influence in Germany, like the changes in subsidies? Because in Poland right now we observe that changes in subsidies sometimes can destroy the market, like it was last year in Poland.
Well, the part of the story about this December peak, it's not only the changes itself, but it's even the fear of changes in this subsidy scheme. So definitely subsidy schemes will have a very strong impact on the sales. How strong it will be and if we will even have the changes, we don't know yet. Maybe after 2-3 weeks we will know something more, but so far it's everything just unknown and unstable.
And if you can say us what is good and what needs to be fixed in Germany, or what are your estimations for this year market? It will increase or be stable or decrease?
I can't say something, but it will be the same, right or wrong. So it's really extremely difficult to say something. We have a lot of reasons why the market should be increased and why we need heat pumps on the market. This is for sure. But I think the strongest impact will be the political development and the subsidies, and not only the subsidies at all, but really the narrative. So how the new government will tell us the story about the future to see it broader. So I think this is really very important if the people will get the right, let's say, story for the future or not.
Thank you very much. Thomas, you were, I call you a father of heat pumps in Europe, and you were director of the Heat Pump Association for many years. Right now you moved to the company, to the manufacturer of heat pumps in Qvantum, in Sweden also, same country as we are. So what is your view on the market? Now it seems that the stocks of wholesalers are more empty, and we see a slight improvement in sales. Also in ESBE, in components for heat pumps manufacturers. But what is needed to reach a real kick-off and acceleration of the market right now?
Well, let me start by looking at the heat pump technologies, because if you talk about heat pumps in general, then we have to distinguish at least 3 different segments. We have residential heat pumps, and these are the ones that are typically affected by the big decline. We have heat pumps in multifamily buildings where I work now, and there we see a huge interest. So at least from the interest expressed, it's a market where we would say it's at the bottom at the moment. It can only go up, because if we deliver to all sales requests, we will have a very positive year ahead of us. And then there is industrial or commercial and industrial heat pumps, and there the demand has never declined. So we have segments that are not in the press where the heat pumps are sold at the moment. When it then comes to a general statement, I would say heat pumps are ready for all applications, and that's an important point, because with all optimism that we probably share, then we still have to face the decline. So I dare to say we are at the bottom of a decline curve, and it will go up from now on. Let's see next year or in 2 years if that was correct, but all signs, in my opinion, they point at green lights. And if you say that the wholesalers' stocks are empty, I mean, I don't know that much because we are just starting our production. But the important point for me would be that we have this segment of multifamily houses where policymakers today say this is not an option. We do not even have heat pumps. There is solutions available, and Qvantum is not the only company that is doing it. We have some competition on the way, but the market is so big. The numbers are not really good, but we are talking about 36 million apartments by and large in Europe that have gas boilers, or where the buildings in which they are heated with gas. And all this needs to go out. So if Josephine is right and we will meet the targets by 2045, 2050, and if Marek is right saying that we have all reasons to believe that the policy that we see, if it unfolds, is positive, then I can only say this is the starting point of a very positive development. I know I have said that also 4 years ago, and then it looked like that. Right, so now we had a speed up to 2022, 2023, 2024. Yes, pretty much a disaster, but I think we can be confident that 2025 is better. And one thing we have not looked at, and that's the whole discussion of social pressure. You remember still, all of you, I guess, if I look into your faces, when smoking was still okay. And it took 5 years to make smoking pretty much not acceptable anymore. Today it's okay to say, to confess that you have a gas boiler. I bet you, 2030, you will be very careful telling your friends that you still have a gas boiler, because you will look so backwards.
Thank you. I also quit smoking in August last year. Okay, so Josephine, we spoke about the policies. What, in your opinion, is the main policy action that we should take right now in the European Commission? What could help us to increase and accelerate?
Thank you, Gosha. Maybe I'll first start with giving a bit of a picture with what is happening right now at EU level. So at the end of February, the Commission came out with a clean industrial deal. So a package with proposals and actions that they will do to strengthen both the decarbonization and competitiveness of the European industry. And in that, they address a number of factors that are quite important for the heat pump sector. So they really want to lower the electricity bills. So they want to do quite some actions or recommendations, to be more specific, on how member states can take out taxes and levies on the electricity bill and move them to, for example, the general budget or the fossil fuel bills. This will improve the investment case for heat pumps, the OPEX, so the electricity to gas price ratio. So that's one very good point. Another point that is properly addressed in that package is industrial decarbonization. So a lot of actions are done to make it easier for industries to decarbonize, for example, with industrial heat pumps. Then there's also quite some explicit wording on heat pumps. One specific point is that they really mentioned that by accelerating the rollout of heat pumps, 60 billion can be saved from importing gas. But then at the same time, so we have quite some good factors that we have been advocating for at EU level for some years, but at the same time we see that there's a lack of really strategic action, a lack of putting the heat pump sector really front and center as a key solution, as a sector as a whole to be addressed. So we do not see a really heat pump specific strategy or action plan, which we do see for some other industries like automotive, for example. Also, there's still quite some focus on gas, on hydrogen, and so on. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixed picture, so to say. So that is what is currently on the table. And what we think should be done even more is indeed this daring to really say clearly we need to have a heat pump specific strategy. The heat pump sector is key also now in the current discussions on global security, on energy security. Heat pump can help us to no longer fund Russia, to really put this very clearly, give long-term stability, give a perspective on phase out of fossil fuels and so on. A second point that should be really done is we need regulatory stability. So we need to stop with these stop and go policies. We also need to streamline much more requirements. For example, there's at EU level requirements on eco-designs, on the efficiency of heat pumps, on the refrigerants, on flexibility. So all these requirements come every few months. And all this requires that, the manufacturers have to redesign and reproduce the heat pumps every time, which adds costs. So we need to streamline that to also reduce the capex, so the upfront costs. And then, of course, we need to work on affordability as a whole, so both OPEX and CAPEX, and have new models of financing so everyone can afford a heat pump. That is it, I would say, in a nutshell.
Yeah, so the heat pump action plan and the affordability of energy for all of us. Thomas, you want to add something to that?
Conceptually speaking, two things. We have to tell people that it's no longer okay to burn fossil energy, so you could call it stop burning stuff. And we need policy transparency or technology clarity, where governments dare to say gas boilers, oil boilers are not okay, and heat pumps are the solution for the future. And if that goes out very clearly, then also the insecurity that Marek was talking about will disappear, because then you don't have no doubt anymore what you have to do.
So we know that we need also lower prices for electricity compared to gas, for sure. The ratio between electricity and gas.
This is only a problem because gas is still in the market. If we would say we just ban gas boilers with all support measures for poor households, etc., etc., it's a complicated thing to do, but it's easy to demand. Then you don't discuss an electricity gas price anymore. We are only in this pit hole, if you want, because we have a gas boiler still as and I call it really perceived alternative. It's not a real alternative. I dare to say the people that buy a gas boiler today, they will regret this dearly.
And if we speak about this, what we need, what do you think about this new business model? Marek, you mentioned last year on the Congress in Poland that there are many different types of business models that can make easier for the consumers, for our customers to install heat pumps. Could you mention what kind of business model do you see on the market?
I will say there are at least two different phases of this new business models. The first one is that very often these companies are coming not directly from the heat pump market. They are just coming from the, for example, software perspective. And then they are trying to solve the problems we have with other solutions. And this is a very fresh view on the market. So they very often are coming with a lot of money, with a lot of ambitions, and this is not necessarily the position of the, I will say, old ones. This is the first, and of course, because they are coming from this software, let's say, side, the whole future with artificial intelligence, with flexible tariffs, all of this AI, it's for them much easier to implement. And the second, I would say, phase or perspective, it's that they can optimize the processes much better because they are not installing as a classical installer like 60 or maybe 600 heat pumps, it will be a lot, but they are installing 6,000 per year. And with these numbers, they are optimizing the whole process on the other level. And I think the combination of using the future's tools or tools of the future and using these optimized processes will change the market.
Thank you. Thomas, you want to mention something? You're working for a company
I declare Qvantum as one of these newcomers, but we come from a different perspective. 3 of the 4 founders of Qvantum come from a utility, from E.ON. And so where in the past heat pumps were a problem for utilities because they would destroy the business model around traditional district heating, now if you look at 100,000 heat pumps, we have calculated that gives us 5 gigawatt hours of shifting potential. So we will sell heat pumps to provide heating, cooling and hot water, but maybe in the future we will sell grid balancing solutions that on the side as a byproduct will provide heating and cooling for the end users. And we do this for multifamily buildings. I need to repeat that one. It's really important to understand because then it's easier. All our units are online all the time, so from day one, I can see how they perform. If I want to see the latest sales figures, I don't wait for statistics. I look into my support tool because I know how many units have come online yesterday.
So probably AI will also have big revolution here in this topic. So the next part of my questions are more concerned to technology. And first question will be also to all of you, Thomas, Marek, Josephine. What kind of innovations do you see in heat pump technology if you are walking around ISH booth of different heat pump manufacturers? What can you see? What are the trends?
I think one trend is completely policy driven. It's the trend towards, it's not even a trend anymore. It's a nearly complete shift of refrigerants to R410A. Sorry, no, that's completely wrong. To R290, of course. We want to go low GWP and non-fluorinated, and that's what you see happening in all the air-to-water units, up to 20 kilowatts I've seen. And the second trend that I find quite strong is system integration. This idea of connecting flexible electricity tariffs, maybe your own photovoltaic array to the heat pump, and optimize all this to provide comfort for the end user. So these two I've seen so far, but I haven't walked around much. And what I find distinguishes quite a few manufacturers from each other is, do you have the full customer journey in mind? Do you really look from design to manufacturing, to installation, to maintenance? Or do you market yourself as heat pump factory or heat pump manufacturer, and your only idea is to shell out boxes? And I tend to say that the first group of companies will survive and the other ones will disappear.
And Marek, Josephine, do you have any tips for ESBE as a manufacturer of heat pump components? How can we as ESBE help protect installations whose heart is the heat pump filled with propane with R290? We have many components that are already ready to flammable A3 class refrigerants. Can you tell us if there are any guidelines in European Heat Pump Association or any annex, if we speak about researchers, how to help installers to manage the problem of flammable refrigerants?
Yes, indeed. So at EHPA, we are working in a project which is called Skill Safe, and there we are exactly developing these guidelines for safe handling and installation of these flammable refrigerants. So now the first phase has been ended, which was really developing the guideline. It was based on the German guideline by BWP, and with a large group of stakeholders, really technical experts, we have been going through that guideline and to see how to make it applicable for the whole EU. So now that phase has ended, and now on the basis of that guideline, specific training material will be developed, videos, others, really to help installers. And we can also already say that the project will be extended under the current budget and how it was planned to also now cover not only monoblocks but also splits. So we will extend it further and also develop these guidelines for the split heat pump.
It's great information for all of us, I think. Also for manufacturers, but also installers. So Marek.
Well, I have about trends. So propane is for me set. You can see it's everywhere, so it's not every more a trend. It's just there, and it's a very good. What is not yet set, it's the whole security measures, and this is the role of you also. So if you have a very clear strategy how to provide the security, I think this will be still something which is not yet decided. I saw at least 3 or 4 different strategies how to deal with that. And this is definitely not only the role of the heat pump manufacturers, but also for the components. If I may, 2 trends I see or I don't see. One is almost nothing new. And this is also a trend for me. Because if you see that 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, it was always something more or less new. I don't know, new design, heat pumps for multifamily buildings or high temperatures. And today, it's something like it's everything there. So it's a general trend, not having a lot of new things, but because it's a good idea, it's a good information, it's everything on the market more or less. So I will interpret it like that a bit. Of course, besides the great ideas for multifamily buildings. And the second one, and this is which I don't really like, it's the trend again with the hybrid solutions. So again, a lot of producers are trying to explain us why we need hybrid solutions, which I don't, in many cases, we don't need it. And this is connected also to this whole gas discussion. So of course,
and prices.
Of course, prices, company politics, I can understand why they are doing that. But this is a trend which I don't really like. And fortunately, the market is not really taking it. So the hybrids were even for 8 years a huge trend. Since there, it's not really big development on the market.
Can I challenge that part of everything is there already? Because what I really see is, I think my first propane heat pump here I've seen in 2017. So what we see today is the second or third generation of quite a few of these products. So what I can consider, you're right, in there is a lot of things that we have seen before, but we've seen them in one iteration better. And if you think of this, I don't know who of you has been here 10 years ago. So wonder what you think. This was a gas boiler fair 10 years ago. You had to search for the heat pumps. Today, you have to search for the gas boilers.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe there is a time right now for questions from audience. Is anybody wants to use the opportunity to ask some questions to our experts?
I have one answer to that, and I'm very aware of the discussion because I'm good friends with Nathan Van Gambling, the Beta Talk guy, right? And you know him, yes, you're laughing. Our answer as Qvantum to that is we will monitor each machine as soon as it goes into the field. So I cannot tell you what the average fleet is doing in terms of performance, but I can tell you the future will look, and I think this is something that we didn't mention as a trend, but we will have so many sensors in the houses and in the machines that we can guarantee the quality in the future at the point of operation. And if there is a discussion about the numbers, we can say, okay, let me just draw data from 10,000 units in the field, and then we will see. And of course, for us as manufacturers, it makes us better because we can go to the installers and say, hey, your heat pump that you installed is 20% below the average of all of our units. So what happened here? Was it too complicated? Did our planning too fail? Maybe the user didn't behave properly, but all of this can be extracted from the data, and maybe in the worst case, do you need a training? You know, do we help to make you better? But I think with all this data available, and if we put AI on top of this, we can really put that discussion to rest in the very near future.
Yes.
Boring, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a heat pump since 10 years, and it was possible even 10 years ago having all of this data. But the question is, what is happening with this data and with this knowledge? And if the producer or the manufacturers is really very busy in a growing market selling heat pumps and installing heat pumps, the installers and the manufacturers are not really interested to make them even more and more efficient in each places. So maybe AI will somehow help to deal with this problem. But I think this is not the problem with collecting data and having them. The problem is, and I see it since 20 years, with the proceedings with this data. So what we are doing with this data to improve the situations for each client. And this is the crucial point. So how to find the solutions that installers are interested even to respond on this information.
Maybe I can also add from the policy level. So indeed, one thing we also want to push for is to make it easier to install heat pumps. But then at the same time, so manufacturers have to invest in innovation to make them easier to install. But at the same time, as what I said before, then we need at the same time less requirements or less every few months new requirements on their efficiency, on adding flexibility requirements, on new types of rules for refrigerants. So if this keeps adding all the time, then manufacturers have less resources to invest in making them easier to install, for example. So that is another thing. And also at EU level, of course, there's a lot of awareness on the need for more training and skills, but that is, at EU level, there's not so much that one can do because that's really national, even regionally done, but that's, something we are pushing for and looking at best practices in different member states and different countries and projects and how they can share expertise on which type of trainings work well, which type of also tools help installers to improve the installations, maybe digital innovations and so on. So we are looking at that as well.
And you can also use system solutions from ESBE, as always. And the final round of the questions is more for policy. Thomas, what would you do if you were a politician in any level of, you want to choose, high level, and what decision will you make?
I would make it easy. I would say we have around 100 million or so gas boilers still in the market today. We want to go to zero by 2000. I'd be more ambitious, 2045, so it's easier to calculate, because then I have 100 million and 20 years, right? So every year, 5 million of the heat pumps have to go out of the market. And if the market is not reacting fast enough, then maybe we can look to the UK and say we do an industry obligation scheme that says, okay, you can do what you want, but every year you sell 5 million heat pumps. And there's no way out of that. We can also say we simply ban gas boilers, but that is socially not very acceptable and very complicated to do. So why not make the industry, and including ourselves, responsible for this market?
Thank you. And Marek, if you could be a prime minister of Germany, what would you do?
I thought you liked me. No, but to be honest, I think as a prime minister or generally as a politician, I would start on a completely different level, much higher, explaining people know why they have to install the heat pump and not gas boiler, but why it's important and necessary at all. I'm really missing this discussion, because all politicians are now afraid even about mentioning of climate crisis. This is the situation we have. So I have the feeling that we are living now in the movie Don't Look Up, because it's really as critical. So, and it will be not better. And nobody is addressing this topic because it's so critical and so difficult as a politician. So if you don't start I think it's the role, the genuine role of politicians to find the way to explain us what is happening, and they are not doing that. So I will start on this level, and then to give you maybe more concrete answer, I will try to connect the green policy with the economy. You can see in China what is happening with all of this stuff, and I think if people are happy about the economy, they don't care if the green policy is coming or not coming. They are just doing that. So it's enough.
Yeah, heat pumps are defending themselves. I also love heat pumps, and I have heat pumps since 2011. So, Josephine, if you could be Ursula von der Leyen for a month, what actions, decisions would you make as a priority now?
Well, I would start by saying, of course, heat pumps are very important, but there's more important things in the world right now, world like peace and so on. So I would for sure not do that as first priority, but look at Gaza and other situations at global scale. Of course, we have to be humble as well as a sector. But then if we can look at our sector and at the heating sector in general, I would really dare to give technology clarity, as has been mentioned before, really stop treating this topic like super politically sensitive, and just being clear, and also make it clear to the people that it's in their own interest from all levels, for not only for climate change, but also for the economy, for prices and so on. So just present a clear picture. It's a bit like what Marek and Thomas have said. Communicate well, And just be clear and say, this is the way to go. There's no discussion anymore. We have clear targets. We go away from fossil fuels. Heat pumps are the future, and this is step by step, and then have a clear list of measures to go there step by step, but stop going back and forth and being afraid of the next elections, and don't dare to call the thing what it is, or like, I mean, don't walk around it, but just say heat pumps are the way to go, and have a clear plan and strategy.
Thank you. So we will stop with this question, stop with policy, politics, legislations. Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if you want to add something or say at the end.
I would thank you for the initiative, because it is really important that we repeat this more often and more often and more often, and probably we have to say it 3,000 times, that the technology is ready, that it makes sense, it makes cities nicer, it helps us against heat resilience, all these things that Marek said, and then we need political clarity and measures, and so we need a vision for this. And I remember when I was a kid, the future looked bright. Today I talk to my kids, they say, oh, if everything stays as it is, that would be good already. Where is this thing that we want to change things? We can have buildings that are comfortable and energy efficient and using local resources without being responsible, being depending on fossil energy. So thank you for providing that vision, and let's hope that this finds a big audience.
Thank you very much. And right now, I give the microphone to Jürgen.